So today we're building a beautiful porch swing. Jim, take us through the features.
Well, it's a traditional design, but kind of with a contemporary spin. We're also putting in a couple cup holders, and we're going to suspend it by chain and hang it in a porch.
Nice. And of course we're using Western Red Cedar because nothing looks, feels, or smells quite like Western Red Cedar. So what's the first step?
First step is to cut all the components just so that we have a nice smooth build.
Now for this project, we're using a beautiful knotty grade of Western Red Cedar, which is really going to add a lot of warmth and texture to the project, plus it's cost effective. As for dimensions, what are we using here today?
We're using mostly 2x6 cedar for this project, and we use 2x6 cedar as easily our most requested exterior wood. We build tons of things with it, especially decks, miles and miles of decks. And in fact, I've got a cedar deck not far from here that we put down 30 years ago, and it still looks great. Impressive.
So what are your pro tips for this?
So mostly this is going to be square cuts, most of this project. The arms have some 45-degree miters, and there's a 7-degree angle on the back of the bench, but mostly they're pretty easy cuts. My big tip would be to hold the wood steady and let the blade do the work. Don't force the saw through the wood. The blade will take you through it just fine.
Yeah. Now for more detailed instructions, you can go to realcedar.com for free downloadable building plans. Shall we, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we've cut all the wood.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
And now we're going to start building out the arms.
Arms,
right?
yes, and we're going to start with the exterior of the arms, the mitered pieces. We're going to put them together, and then we'll infill them with these pieces.
Okay, and what are we using for fastener today?
We're using exterior wood glue, and then we're using stainless steel trim head screws. We use stainless steel because it's impervious to corrosion, and we use trim head because they leave a smaller mark in the wood. And once the wood swells up a little bit, you won't even see them.
So we finished the frame of one arm, which was actually pretty easy.
Yeah, that's because Western Red Cedar is easy to work with. It stays true, and the tools love it.
Nice. So tell us how we're going to infill this.
Okay, so it's gonna be recessed a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna put it out as we put it together. We're gonna put it up on 1/2 inch blocks.
And why do we do that?
That just for visual interest from the outside, rather than trying to flush it up. Then we're gonna start at the bottom because that's gonna be flush. Here we go. We're gonna apply our glue to each side. This in, do that. Do one side first. We're on up on the spacer like that. I've got my drill, got my screws. Yeah, you're gonna hold that. That's a big help if you do that. Okay, so now we're gonna skip up and we're gonna do the top one, and it's designed to sit a 1/2 inch below the top of the armrest. So that's why I've got these spacer blocks in here. It's also gonna be recessed like this one. So again, we have these spacer blocks. The reason we're putting this one in is so it gives us some wiggle room in here. If it's not quite exact, we can, rather than seeing it up here, we can adjust it down here. When it comes to the glue, you don't wanna put it on the end of the board, because you might make a mess coming down because these are fairly tight. So you just want to put a little bit of glue in here and bring it down from the top. I make sure that my good side is facing down, and away we go. So now we're going to start at the base. So I've already pre-marked where these components go. So we'll start up like that. And then if you look at this, it's got a 7-degree angle on it. That sets up for the backrest. So you want to make sure that the long side's up and it's facing that way when you put it together. Okay, that looks good. Now we come over. Now we're dealing with these end pieces. These end pieces go on the sides of the ones with the angle. These are square cut on both ends. They're a very simple piece. They go in here, and their job is going to be to hold the end caps on when we put the end caps together.
Okay.
So we're going to glue these together. Just a little bit of glue here, a little bit of glue there. Nothing major. Okay, there's Sarah with the seat back uprights.
That's for the middle one?
So the seat back uprights, they're marked. They're just the middle one's gonna go on here. If you look at these, it's kind of subtle, but they've got a 7-degree angle on them as well, cut the other way. This one goes centered like that, and then we're gonna put 2 more, one there and one there. Okay? Okay, so here we go. So we're going to use the same spacers we used on the side to keep the frame up so that the sides will run down a 1/2 inch beyond the frame. So we put one in the front, one in the back, make sure it's seated, which it is.
Do you put them on this side or no?
We will, but we'll do this side first. So here we go. Now we get the side going. Okay, so now we're going to put on the seat front. The seat front is meant to be flush with the bottom of the sides, and it's meant to be 1.5 inches above where we're going to put the seat boards, the seat base boards. So we're just going to put that on right now. Just find your best side to face forward, which is there. No, I don't think so. I think we can, so there it goes. Here's another one where we can blind screw it. So we will, because we have that ability. So it's on. Just make sure she's nice and flush. So now I can tell that these sawhorses, because they're sitting on uneven ground, aren't level. That might affect things if this is racked and we start to put together the rest of it. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some shims here. I'm just going to shim it level, roughly, you know, as close as we can, kind of thing. I'm not going to be overly fussy, but it's just something we should do. Okay, so we've shimmed both sides level, more or less. Very close. We can tell that it's that way because everything's starting to line up. It's no longer obviously racked. So now Sarah's going to install this back piece. So it's the back seat top. Okay, so now we're going to start installing the seat bottom. Right. We're going to use the same spacers we've been using throughout. We're going to start a 1/2 inch off the front of the seat. We're going to select the best face, which of course cedar, every face is always the best face. So we're going to do that. All right. Here we go. Well, sure coming along.
It sure is. And not only does Western Red Cedar look great, but it's naturally resistant to rot, decay, and insects, which means this beautiful swing is going to last a long time.
Absolutely.
So back resting cups and we're done, basically.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Let's go. So we've got it all together, and we've got these 2x6 arms here, and that gives us plenty of room to drill a hole for a beverage container. We've determined that a 2 3/4 hole saw gives us lots of room for your average beverage container, so we're going to do that. Also, we've got these 2x4s we're going to install under the hole just to prevent anything falling through.
Well, it looks like someone likes the new porch
That's
swing.
for sure.
So anything else we have to do before we install it, Jim?
Well, tonight I'm going to take a little bit of wood putty and fill in these holes on the front just because it kind of takes away from the beauty of the cedar. But other than that, no.
Another great design, Jim.
Thank you.
And not only is it a great design, but it's a green choice because we used Western Red Cedar, and woods such as Western Red Cedar are far more environmentally friendly to manufacture than other building materials. So it's a choice you can feel good about.
So we've transported the chair to the site, and due to space constraints, it's going to end up being more of a suspended chair than a swinging chair. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we wanted to make this a swinging chair, we'd probably do 2 triangles of chain to 2 suspension points. But because it's a suspended chair, we're going to use, just in the interest of stability, we're going to use 4 suspension points with chain. The first thing we did when we got here was ask the owner where she wanted it. So she's established where it goes. We've held it off the wall roughly 6 inches just to give it some room to wobble when you sit down on it. The next thing we want to do now is look to suspending it. So we look up, we got these soffits here. We want to take all this vinyl out of here. We want to keep it in good shape because we're going to reinstall it. And then we want to put in some really skookum suspension points for the chain backing. And as soon as we get this opened up, we'll know what that looks like.
Oh my God, Jim, it looks great. I can't wait to take it for a little test drive.
Yeah, worked out.
Yeah, so comfortable. So tell us about the blocking.
Well, we took down the soffits and found very unconventional framing.
Right.
So it, it was quite a bit of work to get the blocking in. You really have to work at the blocking and do it properly because we're probably, if you get the right 2 people here, you're dealing with like 600 pounds. For the blocking, if you don't know what you're doing, consult a professional.
Yeah.
And just make sure it's right. And then when it comes to the chain, make sure you're not using decorative lighting chain, that you're using proper welded industrial chain, and away you go.
Nice. Looks great.
Yeah, thank you.